Interesting that you talked about managing the finances, tracking revenue, cash flow, profit. It's as if you've been reading some of my posts.
Yeah, I actually had like first-hand very bad experience of that because like in the it was about 3.5 years where we were in business like on and off kind of. Sorry, we were in the Australian two businesses where we folded one and opened the second one. We made about $500,000 in revenue in the second year, but like zero profit. But we didn't know that until the end because
Wow.
we were running, and I wasn't getting paid along the way, and I couldn't figure out where the money was going. And I just had absolute. Like, it was the most stressful thing ever, and I had the visa issues, which was overhanging as well. But like we had a bad business model because our cash collection cycle was long. It was like 180 days because it was a broker model. So we basically had to pay Facebook or Google Ads to get leads. Then we'd organize a deal between uh, two parties. Basically, it was a construction broker. I won't go into detail. Organize a deal between a buyer and a builder, and then we got paid on when they started to build on release payments. But like obviously we're paying the cash on day zero, and we're not getting paid for between 100 and could even be up to a year. If there was planning involved. So it was just in that like that's why it was a great business model. But when you actually dig into the cash side of things, it was a nightmare. And like I didn't get paid for 12 months. Like I got paid maybe like 4 grand for 12 months, but we were making so much revenue, and I felt like such a fraud on the front end, because it was like things are going well, we're doing all these posts and blah blah blah. But yeah, it was such a hit on the ego, and that's like it's cash. Cash is king. Like I learned that so much from the thing. It's like you can't. It doesn't matter if you're making £1 billion a minute. If you're spending £1 billion, you're gone. Like you're just destined to fail. So yeah, that was kind of my experience with that. I'm sure you've seen that multiple times over with clients and everything, but yeah, it's such a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean it is very common. Certainly just not focusing on the finances, and a lot of those issues could actually have been uh mitigated had you planned in advance. And actually if you'd planned in advance, perhaps you wouldn't have done it in the first place. So as in perhaps you wouldn't have pursued the business at all in the first place. But who
Yeah,
knows? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we all learn from the mistakes. And obviously it sounds like you are, because you're now tracking everything and you're planning ahead with the cash flow. So that's the lesson learned, I suppose.
yeah. I'm not going into like financial modeling deep detail on it, but just for me, I just have my pillars that I need to have. As in, like I want to have about 70% gross profit at the end of the year with a certain amount of revenue. Because for me, I know that's safe. Like I have the luxury of being able to do that because of the business model I have. Um, but I know there are like you can go into a lot more detail with it. For me, I just want to make sure I have cash. Like cash is king. Um, Learned that the hard way, and it sounds cliche, but I learned it the hard way.
Yeah. Well, the key to start with is tracking, which is obviously what you're doing. And then as you get more comfortable with it, you can get as complicated or keep it as simple as you want. And obviously, as you said, focusing on cash over everything else is the number one priority
Yeah.
as well. So, great.